Hey there, welcome back to the Food Freedom Podcast. I am your host, Coach Mary Roberts, and today we're diving into a topic that I think is going to hit home for a lot of you. And so today's podcast is 3 ways you are making your food addiction recovery harder. Well, listen, I don't want to say that to shame you or blame you. Recovery is already a challenging process, but I've seen so many women, myself included, back in the day, make it even harder without realizing it. So today, I want to bring some awareness to a few things you might be doing that are keeping you stuck. So if you're struggling, if you feel like you're spinning your wheels or you keep falling back into the same old patterns, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. You're trying to moderate foods that you're addicted to. You've heard me say this over and over. I have several podcast episodes that talk about the lie of moderation. So let's just start with that. It's the big one. So many people come into food addiction recovery still clinging to the hope that maybe, in the back of their mind, that maybe they can learn to eat sugar in moderation or just have grains and all the stuff, the starches, the grains, the sugar, that you have it in the back of your mind that maybe someday you'll be able to have it sometimes. You fantasize about keeping your favorite binge foods around for special occasions and that someday you might be able to eat them again, that you'll get well enough that you'll just be fixed and you don't have to avoid it forever. But let me be real with you. If you could moderate it, you already would have, right? Like how many times do we have to try to moderate something before we get it that we're incapable? And that's not being negative. I've heard some coaches out there talk about how, that negative mindset is going to keep you, from being able to like have food freedom. And their definition of food freedom is like, eating that drug food and having just one and being satisfied and walking away. When you're an addict, that's not how it works. So it's like an alcoholic trying to learn how to drink just one beer on the weekends. It doesn't work. And it's not because we're weak or we're broken. It's because our brain is addicted. So trying to moderate the thing you're addicted to only keeps the obsession alive. You're constantly thinking about it, negotiating with yourself, white knuckling it, and eventually giving in. And it just keeps you in that cycle over and over again. So we can't look at abstinence as punishment. It's not punishment. It's freedom. It's peace. It's relief. You don't need to fix your relationship with sugar. You need to end it. Number 2, you're doing this alone. This is a big mistake. So many people are trying to do it alone, and recovery in isolation is a breeding ground for relapse. I know it can feel safer to try to figure it out all on your own. You might be embarrassed or ashamed, or you're just really an independent person. I mean, that was my problem. I was like, I know it all. I know what I need to do. I just need to be strong enough to do it. But that wasn't the case. And so I understand that you might feel that way, but food addiction thrives in secrecy. And when we're left alone with our thoughts, our drug foods, our excuses, our voice of sabotage, it becomes way too easy to justify. We cave to, just this once, just one bite, or starting over tomorrow. Same old story over and over. So look, having and needing support is not a weakness. It's a strategy. It's strength. We need people who understand what we're going through, who've been there, who can speak truth to our excuses, and who can remind us that we're not crazy, we're not hopeless, and that we're not alone in this. So whether that's a coach like me, a support group like my Food Freedom Tribe, or an accountability buddy, one who's really going to hold you accountable, not one who's going to let you off the hook, you got to get connected with somebody. You aren't meant to recover alone. It doesn't work that way. And number 3, you're focused only on the food. This one, maybe it'll surprise some of you because yes, what we eat definitely matters. I teach a very specific approach using real food, especially for those of you out there dealing with blood sugar issues or type 2 diabetes and other health issues. The food matters. I know this, you know this, but here's the thing. If you only change what you eat and you don't try to change how you think, you'll end up right back where you started. I got a message from someone today saying how she's so frustrated that she knows what to eat and she can only stick to it for a few days and then she falls off and starts over again. And that's the epitome of addiction. That's what it looks like. So you can maybe you don't get help because you're thinking, oh, I know what they're going to tell me. I know what I'm supposed to eat. But what you need to know is how to stop the cycle, right? Like you don't need to know what to eat. You probably know that already. But if you don't get, help, and if you don't get focused off of the food and thinking that's the only thing and get to work on your inner self, you're just going to stay in that endless cycle, because food addiction is not just about food. It's about how we cope. It's about the stories we tell ourselves. It's the lies we hear from the voice of sabotage. It's the beliefs we have about who we are, the emotional patterns that we've learned, from our childhood on, and all of the baggage and, weird beliefs and experiences we've carried around for years about food. You have to do the mindset work. You have to get honest about your drug foods and your danger zones. You have to challenge those excuses that you make, otherwise known as you got to challenge the lies that you hear from the voice of sabotage. You got to learn how to fight back against that voice, and you have to, shut that voice down and start rewriting the script instead of playing the same old tapes over and over again. Otherwise the old you just keeps showing up and pulling you back into old behaviors. So let's recap real quick. Stop trying to moderate what you're addicted to. Aim for abstinence and give yourself the gift of food freedom and peace with food. Don't do this alone. You need community and support. And don't just change the food, change the mindset, change the behavior. If you recognized yourself in any of these, I want you to know you're not failing, you're learning, you're growing. And now that you have the awareness, you can make some of those shifts that are going to make recovery feel, less like a war zone and more like the path to true food freedom. And that's what I'm all about here. All right. Thanks for spending some time with me today. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you shared it with a friend or left a review. If you're ready for more structured support, check out the links in the show notes for ways to work with me. And maybe you want to join the Food Freedom Tribe. Until next time, stay food sober, stay strong, and remember, you are not